Now we're about to schedule the meat of our meeting, our prepared speeches. Tonight, Anthony will be speaking. His speech title is, "Are the Walls Still Standing?" He's asking for 10 to 12 minutes, and it's from the Speaker General Information. Okay, Anthony.
Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster, and good evening, fellow Toastmasters. Several weeks ago at the Wednesday night Bible study that I attend, a friend of mine who also attends related a story to us. He said he was speaking to a friend of his whom he regarded, in all honesty and sincerity, as a very intelligent person, very intelligent man. And they were talking about some event that was coming up, and my friend said to his friend, "Well, I'm not going to be able to make that because I go to church at that time." To which his friend responded, "Why do you go to church? Don't you know evolution is a proven fact?" And that got me to thinking. I've been thinking about this topic for a long time. Evolution is a proven fact. That's what they tell us. When people who want to put a side-by-side model of creation or intelligent design in the public schools, it's always fought as if evolution is a walled city, a fortress, because it's a fact and God isn't. Is that what they're saying? How much of a fact is evolution? How am I, as a high school graduate with some courses of college, supposed to sort through all of the information when one side who can think rings around me tell me that a certain position is a scientific fact, an established fact, and I have to take their word for it, I guess. But other qualified scientists, for example, Mr. T.N. Tomasian, who is a physiologist for the Atomic Energy Commission, made the following statement: "Scientists who go about teaching that evolution is a fact of life are great con men," he said. "And the story they are telling may be the greatest hoax ever." This is the physiologist for the Atomic Energy Commission. Is he smarter than me? I'll bet you he is. I'll bet you this man will forget more than I'll ever learn. But he's making statements like evolution is a tangled mishmash of guessing games and figure jungling. So what in the world is going on? I decided to try to review everything that I could understand and see how much of a walled city this really is. I have 7 points for you tonight. In the beginning, no, I can't quote Genesis, and I won't quote anything else in the Bible. I have to refer exclusively to science. In the beginning, since matter had a beginning, before matter was, there was absolutely nothing. That's the conclusion in the position of science, that in the very, very ultimate beginning, there was absolutely nothing. And then suddenly it went from being absolutely nothing, a nanosecond later, to there being absolutely everything. All of the matter of the universe just came into existence, just like that. And in spite of the fact that it defies the maxim of probable cause or of cause and effect, this is the position they take. They don't say why it happened or how it happened. They only tell you how it could not have happened. Take, for example, a quotation from Professor Lewontin, professor of biology at Harvard, who made the following very almost braggadocious statement where he says, he refers to the tolerance of the scientific community for unsubstantiated just-so stories. And then he says, because we cannot allow a divine foot in the door. But you know what? They can't explain why the universe or how the universe got there. I'm a magnanimous guy. I'm going to give them the universe. They can't figure out how it got there. That's okay by me. I'll give him the universe. Let's continue on through time. As the universe is already here, the earth is already here, the earth is cooling, and now the biochemicals are starting to come together to start to produce life. Well, according to ChristianAnswersNet.net, listen to this statement. One chemist has calculated the immense odds against amino acids ever combining to form the necessary proteins by undirected means. The estimate was the probability to be more than 10 to the 67th power against even a small protein being formed spontaneously. Even in an ideal mixture of chemicals, in an ideal atmosphere, and given up to 100 billion years, 10 to 20 times the age of the Earth, in order for this to happen, and the odds against it are still 1 to the 10th to the 10 to the 67th power against that happening. But you know what? I don't care. I'll give them protein too. They can have the protein. We'll just let them have that. Well, then we have to have life start. Okay, these proteins get together, and life starts now. Uh-oh, we have another problem. Louis Pasteur in the 1800s proved categorically that life only comes from pre-existing life. It's an established law of biogenesis. Life cannot just appear. It can only come from pre-existing life. But I'm going to give them that too. You need something to be alive? Okay, you can have it. Something's alive now. Darwin identified that first form of life as a single-celled organism. He looked through his Stone Age equipment, his microscope, and he peered down into the lens and he saw this little gelatinous blob of amoeba. And he said, that must have been the first form of life on the earth. Little did Mr. Darwin know, and little would he have imagined in his wildest dreams, the molecule of DNA. The molecule of DNA in an amoeba, a single-celled organism, if committed to print, could fill 1,000 complete sets of the Encyclopedia Britannica. That's 7.5 million pages of information, folks. Where does information come from? Is that a natural occurrence? If life only comes from pre-existing life, is it not true, even if there is no scientific law, that information only comes from intelligence? And this is not just information. It's a genetic executable program written in 4 base chemicals without which we could not be alive. Darwin didn't know that. Darwin couldn't know that. But scientists today know that, and they forge ahead anyway and tell us that evolution is a scientific fact. But you know what? Let's give them DNA. That's okay. They can have the DNA. I don't really care. But there's another problem here. Dr. Francis Crick, who was the co-discoverer of the dual helix structure of DNA, made the following statement regarding the possibility of an accidental emergence from biochemicals of the DNA molecule. He said it would be more likely to be able to produce a fully functioning Boeing 707 passenger jet from a hurricane passing over a junkyard than for the accidental emergence of the DNA molecule. Is Dr. Crick smarter than me? I think so. I know so. So it's not just a bunch of people trying to sneak God back into the classroom that are making these statements about the unworkability of this supposed proven scientific fact. But as I said, I'm going to give them DNA. I gave them the universe. I gave them amino acids, protein, life, DNA. Hey, I'm on a roll. I'm in a generous mood tonight. But let's move forward. So, okay, now we have this single cell, and it's got to start developing. How does it develop? Well, through genetic mutation. Mutations cause it to become more complex. As the organism gets more complex, sooner or later it starts developing organs. But Mr. Darwin, in his On the Origin of Species, made the following statement. If it could be demonstrated that only one complex organ existed, which could not possibly have been formed by numerous successive slight modifications, my theory will break down. Oh, really? He said, any organ? Okay, I'll choose the eye. How did the eye develop? Through slight and successive modifications. Now, genetic mutation is supposed to work that when it occurs in a living thing, and it provides an advantage for that living thing to survive, then it's reproduced in its progeny. But if only part of an eye is produced as it's being developed, that creature is still blind. It provided it no benefit at all, and it would not have been passed along. So, Mr. Darwin, your theory falls flat. So he has all these, but I'm going to give him that. He said, okay, these little changes take place. Well, let's see. If species X has to mutate into species Y over millions of years, there would be hundreds, there would be thousands of transitional forms in the fossil record, wouldn't there? But Mr. Darwin complained that the fossil record was lacking all these transitional forms that should have greatly outnumbered the fully formed creatures. And here we are 150 years later, and it turns out that not only have these transitional forms not been found, but the disparity and the lack of them is even greater now than when Mr. Darwin complained in 1859. And so the transitional forms aren't there. Not only that, how can you have this situation where someone who is dubbed and knighted by the Queen of England, Sir William Dawson, a renowned geologist in Canada, made the following statement regarding evolution. He said, it's one of the strangest phenomena of humanity. It is utterly destitute of proof. Now I ask you, why does my friend go to church when evolution is a proven fact? Where are the facts? I just gave you 7 points. And in the same way that Joshua circled the city of Jericho 7 times before the walls fell flat, I circled evolution 7 times. Somebody tell me if the walls are still standing. Thank you.